Use NetSuite. And for a limited time, NetSuite has extended their one-of-a-kind financing program offer to those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/radar. Head to netsuite.com/radar for this extended special financing offer on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. netsuite.com/radar.
Take Audible along this summer and listen to best-selling audiobooks, exclusive originals, and podcasts. Start with a free 30-day trial at audible.com.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on a Tuesday. No Kev Nash out for the week on vacation, but excited to be hanging out with each and every one of you here this afternoon. For those of you who have enjoyed the watching and catching the show on our Facebook page, on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, we are back up and streaming and rolling today. You could watch the show live. You can also watch the show live on our ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. Head there, subscribe, be a part of all the action. You can also jump in on the show by leaving your opinions in the comment section. We can interact with you that way. We had been off due to technical difficulties, but we are back up and running. Excited to be hanging out with each and every one of you here today on a Tuesday. Lots to get into. How about camps officially starting to get underway across the board in the National Football League, which means there's actually current headlines to talk about. And although lists may not be going away anytime soon, they are about to start fading away, which is a good thing. But again, excited to be hanging out with all of you. We got a busy day because after the show, we still have plenty of TBT action coming your way. Red Scare basketball coming up later on tonight. We'll have Red Scare basketball on 1410 Wing AM, myself and Norm Greavy. We'll be on the call at UD Arena, 9 o'clock to tip off. Some of your favorite former Flyers, Scoochie Smith, Trey Landers, Ryan Mikesell, Jordan Seibert, V. Sanford, and more. Josh Cunningham, all going to be in action. Daryl Davis, all going to be in action at the arena tonight. So if you can't make it, obviously, I hope you watch it or tune in, obviously, to the station to take it in. Just one way or another, there's plenty of options for you to be able to support some of your favorite former Flyers. But I want to open up with this. I must have been under the weather as of late. I've had a lot of positive Bengals coverage, and, maybe I need to change that up a bit, right? Just joking, kind of. Look, I think that the offseason for the Bengals, if I had to give it a grade, I would give it an A. I said at the beginning of the offseason that if the Bengals address the offensive line, I don't care if they had the worst draft in NFL history this past year. As long as they address the offensive line, I'll give them an A. There's nothing to be down about, right? They added Kappa. They added Collins. They added 3 decent, very good offensive linemen. I mean, anything compared to what they've had the last few years isn't obviously an immediate upgrade. The problem is now that the offseason is pretty much over, now it's officially the preseason. The offseason and the preseason are two different things. And I stated on yesterday's show that without taking a shot at the Bengals, a lot of last year's success, despite the fact that it had to do with, yes, the talent out on the field, a lot of it had to do with luck. Not luck as in they're not talented and they're lucky they got as far as they did. Luck as in they stayed healthy. It's rare for a team to stay as healthy, relatively healthy, as what the Bengals did last year. Yes, you can maybe find an isolated situation of a player being out here and there, but overall you had your core all season long. There was never a time where you had to figure out, man, what are we going to do without Joe Burrow? What are we going to do without T. Higgins and Jamar Chase? What are we going to do without Joe Mixon? You guys had your weapons. Like there was no, you never really, I don't even know what the most stressful part of your season was last year. Maybe losing to the Jets, maybe losing to Baker Mayfield, maybe losing that tough game, of course, in overtime against the Niners, which of course was that game that I honestly think turned the season around as far as kind of Zach Taylor was kind of a reflection game. If he had to sit back and say, okay, I can't micromanage Joe Burrow. I got to let Joe Burrow be Joe Burrow. And the Bengals never really looked back from there. Obviously, they made the trip all the way to the Super Bowl. But the like I said, I gave the offseason an A+ for whatever that's worth for the Cincinnati Bengals. I said, you address the offensive line, you upgrade the offensive line. That's all you have to do. You have your weapons. You have your elite weapons on offense. You have your star wide receivers. You have your star running back. You clearly have your franchise quarterback. Now you just need to get that offensive line intact, maybe improve at tight end, but that's a later thing. They'll be set, and they're set. That was the offseason. Now it's the preseason. And the preseason starting to become a little jarring. A little bit. Joe Burrow, it was announced today. And again, this is not a huge deal. Possibly. Okay. Joe Burrow is undergoing surgery. Now, when I stop it right there, that's for dramatic effect. That's for me to, stir the pot and get everyone all fired up and pissed off. And Joe Burrow is going to be undergoing surgery. Keep in mind, camps kick off this week. He's going to have his appendix removed. He'll miss some practice, but better now than later, according to a tweet a few hours ago from Ian Rappaport. Now, I bring this up because it's really not that big a deal, but at the same time, you can't convince me that that there's no such thing as a good surgery. You could tell me that there's better timing than others. Maybe this isn't the best timing, but it's not the worst timing either. But at the same time, you don't like to start to see a list of things piling up. For instance, Kappa's injured, and there's really not a direct timeline of when he can start to resume practice and resume workouts and resume getting out on the field with his teammates. Lyle Collins, same thing. That was the big one. That was the best addition the Bengals made this past offseason, was getting Collins, the top offensive lineman from the Dallas Cowboys, of course, getting him to come to Cincinnati in free agency and really getting him at a bargain of a deal. Good for the front office there. But he strained his back here in the month of July, and it was a non-football related activity that led to him straining his back, and there's still no timetable of when he's going to be out there. So again, all I'm saying is I give the A+. I give the offseason an A+, but the preseason's off to a little bit of a dicey start. When you start piling up a list of uh-ohs, that's not the cleanest start to a preseason, because it's preseason now. It's no longer the offseason. You can't continue to write off what you did in the offseason, because now that the preseason's here, it's time to take what you did in the offseason and start putting it to work. Well, when you have the main pieces that you addressed in the offseason not available to start the preseason, I would say that's kind of an area of concern. Doesn't mean you have to panic. Doesn't mean everyone has to run around, screaming, looking like the guy from Home Alone. Not Joe Burrow, of course. But you see my point. Again, I don't believe I'm overreacting, but it is something to keep an eye on. Joe Burrow having his appendix taken out is going to miss some time. And again, that could range. I think there was a quarterback last year who had his appendix out and was back within a week. Okay, cool. So be it. A week from now, no big deal. We're not, going to be worried about it. But if he has to miss 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that's kind of a concern. Right? That's kind of a concern, because I don't care about the preseason games themselves. The preseason games are, forget those. I mean, hell, you're seeing the team that just won the Super Bowl last year, they don't even play their starters during the preseason. So this isn't about those random Thursday, Friday, Saturday preseason games. This is about the Monday through Fridays. This is about the practices. This is about being out on the field, trying to get that chemistry with your offensive line, which even if Joe Burrow was out there, technically your star offensive lineman that you added in the offseason may not be available for a few weeks on top of that. Bottom line is, not time to panic, but you don't want to start with everything that this team has done very well over the last couple of off seasons. The last thing you want to start is the preseason with all of these question marks. And there's a lot of question marks. When will Kappa make his, appearance? When will he step foot on the field to help bolster this offensive line? Collins, how serious is this back injury? Is this going to be something that's lingering into the 2022 season? That could be a concern. Joe Burrow having his appendix taken out, not a big deal, but surgery is surgery. Anytime your star franchise quarterback, there's a tweet that comes out that he's about to have surgery, that's a big deal. So you have Burrow's surgery. You have the 2 offensive linemen that you acquired in the offseason. They're out. Who knows for how long? But again, those are your star offensive linemen. And that back injury for Collins, that worries me. Then you have the Jesse Bates situation. Don't really know what to make of that. I mean, another report came out yesterday. He will not report to camp. He will not report to Bengals camp. Understandably so. We talked with former Bengals great Willie Anderson yesterday. He was adamant that it's just a business, that those on the roster, that those showing up to camp are very well aware that, you know what, this is a business. It's fine. But again, not stirring the pot here, not trying to get you Bengals fans all fired up. But you can't sit here and convince me that Joe Burrow having his appendix taken out, Kappa being injured, Lyle Collins, hurting his back, Jesse Bates, who knows when he's going to be back on the field or at all this upcoming season. had such a great offseason, not off to a great start here this preseason. Not overreacting. I think it's something you have to keep an eye on, especially with so many things going right. You don't want to start that slow snowball of little problems becoming big problems. All right. Doug Toby says, just don't get a surgeon from Pittsburgh or Cleveland. I agree with you. By the way, who was the team last year that had the quarterback that they punctured his lung? Who was the former Browns quarterback? I'm off to a rusty start today. Bear with me. But yeah, as long as, we're not talking about that team or that medical staff, I think you are in good shape, but nonetheless. But if you're just tuning in, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on a Tuesday, 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Jake Whiting. What up, Jake? He says, Tyrod Taylor. Yes, thank you. I was trying to forget the Tyrod Taylor, Baker Mayfield days. I'm the less stressful Deshaun Watson days, right? Like what's going on in Cleveland? Nothing to be worried about. So Jake Whiting, in response to the opening of the show, says, I guess get it out of the way now as opposed to later. I don't know, just trying to be positive. Oh, and stay positive. I'm not being negative here. But sometimes these are those little stories that start to pop out as preseason starts that we think are no big deal. And then you get 1-2 weeks into camp and you're like, oh man, we haven't seen Lyle Collins. We haven't seen Kappa yet. Man, Burrow is still recovering from that appendix surgery. That's a problem. Oh man, Jesse Bates and his team, they still haven't been able to come down to an agreement. He still hasn't been out on the field. Guys, we were just in the Super Bowl a year ago. Everything that could go right went right outside of us just not winning at all. And then now after a great offseason, things are just starting to be a little dicey here in the preseason. I'm not being negative, just being realistic. No need to panic, but be aware. You guys got to be aware. 518-1410, give the show a call. You can jump in on the conversation. If you missed our conversation with former Bengals great Willie Anderson, we'll have that coming up for you around the corner. We'll also be able to dive back into some of the other news and headlines surrounding the NFL as camps officially get underway. But glad to be back with you guys here on the Facebook and the YouTube side of things to be able to kind of interact with you that way as well as through the phones. Kev Nash out for the week. He will be back starting next Monday. So there's that. All right, lots to get into today. We'll talk a little Cincinnati Reds baseball coming up around the corner as well. I touched on it a little bit yesterday, but I want to have a chance to be able to take some calls on the situation. It was at Great American Ballpark last night. As crazy as this sounds, I went to the Reds game last night. And I was like, man, I haven't been to the ballpark in a while. I hadn't been to Great American Ballpark since 2019. And it's not as if I haven't wanted to go to a game, but 2020, there was no home games because of COVID. 2021, there was no fans allowed to start the season. And then the summer kind of gets away a little bit. I never made it to a game last year. And then of course this year, already in the second half of the season, it's the first time in almost 2 years that I had made it out to Great American Ballpark. And got to say, it was a lot of fun last night watching the Reds look like a real baseball team. I mean, how about that? But we'll talk little Reds coming up, the trade deadline around the corner, Luis Castillo. What will the Reds do? Talked to a couple Reds representatives last night that basically said he's as good as gone. So we'll get to that. No need to hope and wonder what the future of Luis Castillo is in Cincinnati. His time in Cincinnati obviously coming to an end. All right, more of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. When we come back, you're listening to the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 WING.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Today we have mostly cloudy skies with a high of 79 degrees. Tonight, expect showers overnight with a low of 71. And for your midweek Wednesday, scattered thunderstorms and a high of 81 degrees. And I'm Lorna Stevens for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
The Blue Angels are back.
And for the first time ever at the Centerpoint Energy Dayton Air Show presented by Kroger, they'll be performing with their new FA-18 Super Hornets July 30 and 31st at Dayton International Airport. This year's show features military and civilian demonstrations, historic aircraft, food and fun, along with hands-on interactive events. Tickets are available while supplies last at DaytonAirShow.com. Discount general admission tickets at area Kroger stores.
Where did I put that?
Pete's property manager just took an extended vacation.
To see the dreams.
He needs a replacement before this becomes a cruel summer.
Oh, you wanted the lakefront for the 17th. How did this get double booked already?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by conducting interviews on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Wendy's knows cold and soggy fries are the worst.
So soggy.
That's why we're serving up hot and crispy fries all day, every day.
And all night until close.
With natural cut potatoes, sea salted to perfection.
Show me that potato skin.
Wendy's hot and crispy aren't like other fries. We're your dream fry. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's hot and crispy fries.
Guaranteed to be hot and crispy. If yours aren't, bring them back and we'll replace them.
Millions of people use Zoom Phone, the innovative and feature-rich cloud phone system for businesses of any size. Zoom Phone is simple to use, whether you're on a mobile device, desktop, laptop, or desk phone. And because every call is important to your business, Zoom Phone was built with reliability in mind, using geographic redundancy to keep your communications online. Empower your workforce with Zoom Phone. Visit zoom.com/phone system. Zoom, how the world connects.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to get conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life, celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Need a U.S. passport? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Visit one of our convenient auto title locations in Huber Heights, Clayton, downtown, Moraine, and Centerville. Make us your first destination before you travel abroad. No appointments ever needed. We do passports.com for more info.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Welcome to Allstate, where you can save just by being you. DriveWise in the Allstate mobile app gives you personalized driving feedback. And by adding it to your policy, you can save for driving safe just by being yourself. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands with Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today.
Not available in every state. Savings based on DriveWise and other safe driving discounts. Savings vary. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Calling all residential HVAC service technicians. Do you enjoy your work but want to be challenged on larger industrial and commercial HVAC systems? Have you chosen to forgo health insurance because your premiums are too high? Did you know that REAP covers 100% of your health insurance premiums for you and your family? If you answered yes to any of these questions, contact REAP Services today. We're hiring dedicated, talented technicians who are looking for a long-term career in the HVAC service industry. Apply today at REAP Services, that's RIECK services.com.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall. If you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREON info.com.
A News Nation exclusive. Chris Cuomo in his first TV interview since leaving CNN. Chris Cuomo on Dan Abrams Live. Tonight at 9, 8 Central, only on News Nation.
Dayton Flyers basketball fans, don't miss your chance to see some of your favorite former Flyers return to UD Arena for the basketball tournament. Trey Landers, Scoochie Smith, and more form the Red Scare starting July 24th at UD Arena. Get your tickets at DaytonFlyers.com/TBT.
Jordan Seibert pushing tempo. Jordan Seibert going to go all the way up. Is fouled. It's in. And the bucket is good. It wasn't the prettiest shot, but 2 points is 2 points, and 2 points is all they needed. The Dayton Flyers Red Scare, they take the opening round matchup against City Team off of a Jordan Seibert bucket. Jordan Seibert, how about that? Clinches it for the Red Scare. The last time Jordan Seibert was here playing on this floor, Norm, it was the NCAA First Four win against Boise State when he hit the go-ahead game-winning shot with 34 seconds left. The clock was not a factor tonight, but he made it count, and Jordan Seibert wins game one for the Red Scare.
Yeah, Red Scare coming out of that last time out, got to stop and then gets to transition. And the two-man game with Scooch and Trevor Thompson's been working all game. And they really caught a break a few times, amazingly, down the stretch. Some mishandles by City Team.
All right, and there you heard the ending to game one of what we hope is 6 games total for the Red Scare run throughout the TBT at UD Arena. Game 2 coming up here later on tonight. Red Scare action, 9 o'clock, the tip-off at UD Arena. But you can catch it right here on 1410 WING, the TBT on WING, presented by Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, Orion Sports Medicine, the Big Hoopla, the Cordalis Law Office, Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. We appreciate all of our sponsors and have had a great time doing that and hoping to get a few more games, if not all 6, throughout this run at UD Arena. Talking about Cincinnati Reds baseball, you know, the Reds obviously not having a great season, but right now you got to enjoy the little mini runs that they find themselves in. They got an 11-2 win last night over the Marlins. And when you look at the team right now, they're 9-3 in their last 12 games. All right. They got an 11-2 big win last night over the Marlins. Great American Ballpark wasn't necessarily that full last night, but the atmosphere not bad considering this is a last place team with the second worst record in Major League Baseball. Jonathan India had himself a night last night. You know, the thing is, and I said this at the beginning of the season, if you're tuning into the Reds this season if you're looking for your gratification to come from wins, you're going to be disappointed this year. But if you start to look at some of the key pieces that this team has to make you feel a little bit better about the future, that's where you're going to find some of your limited joy from the team this season. Jonathan India is one of those that he obviously was able to give us some of that joy a season ago in his National League Rookie of the Year campaign, of course. Last night proved why he was the National League Rookie of the Year last year. His very first grand slam. Again, in 4 at-bats, 3 hits in 4 at-bats, 4 RBIs, scored 2 runs, his first grand slam, and just really was unstoppable. No matter who the pitcher was on the mound last night for the Marlins, they couldn't find one guy that was able to slow him down. So a very big night from him. And that's why when you start to think about, okay, sometimes you have a couple good pieces on one side or the other. You have a couple good pitchers, but you don't have a lot of good position players or a lot of good bats in your system, or at least as far as youth is concerned. Or you'll have some guys that can hit the ball, but you don't have a lot of great pitchers. The Reds have a good balance of young players who are dominant in both both areas. Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, Ashcraft, guys like that. I mean, those are the three right there that the Reds are going to be building around moving forward. And they have some other key guys in their system coming up that all of a sudden now you're going to have a lot of young arms that you don't have to pay heavy dollars to for quite some time. You got a lot of, young bats that you're not going to have to pay some dollars to for quite some time. And now you're going to have the cap flexibility here over the next 2 years to be able to plug some of those holes that they felt they weren't ready to plug at this time being, because you needed to let these young bats and these young arms develop over the next season or two, unfortunately, before they get there. But when they get there, I do see a time where we're going to really be having some fun here at this point of the season in the future, more so than we are now. But it's because of guys like Jonathan India. It's because of guys like Tyler Stevenson and Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, obviously Graham Ashcraft and guys like that. So I'm trying to be positive. I really felt that energy last night at Great American Ballpark. Obviously, if you're going there to watch a playoff team, you better hope that whoever they're playing is that playoff team. But if you're going with the knowledge of who this team is and the guys that they have on this roster and coming up through the pipeline, that's where you're going to find your joy when it comes to the Cincinnati Reds. Here's the problem I had with last night's game, though. And this is a problem I have throughout Major League Baseball. Last night, like I talked about, Jonathan India had himself a night. His very first grand slam, 3 hits and 4 at-bats, 2 runs, 4 RBIs, a grand slam, obviously, as I talked about. And, obviously it was a tremendous night for him. But after the game, he had to put out a tweet basically begging the fan to give back the ball. That was his very first career grand slam. Jonathan India tweeted out just a few hours ago, "To the fan who caught my first career grand slam last night, I would love to make a trade for the ball." My problem with this is the game was last night, and here we are, just a little under 24 hours later, and he's just now asking for that ball. And I don't have a problem with the time that it took for him to ask for the ball. I have a problem that he even has to ask for the ball. I hate when we see guys who have career milestone moments in Major League Baseball, and they're having to basically pay a ransom to get a piece of history, whether it's history for them individually or history for the team. How many times have we heard teams or players have to negotiate with fans just to get a piece of memorable, historic memorabilia, if you will? I think that's kind of something that Major League Baseball, again, this is just another example of all of these things that baseball's trying to fix, and they're just running in place. They're fixing stupid things like pitch clocks and all that. That's not making a difference. It's really not. And I just think that this is a situation where, in basketball, if the ball gets accidentally kicked into the stands, it's not like someone holds the basketball up and says, "Oh man, look what I caught. I caught a kick ball into the third row, tonight at the TBT." If there's a kick ball and the ball, ricochets into the stands, do you think the fan gets to hold the basketball in the air and say, "Hey, Mom, look, I caught a foul ball"? No, they have to hand the ball right back. I really, truly believe that when it comes to moments like this, and that means there, has to be people that are knowledgeable, that are out there working these baseball games. But when stuff like that happens, I do believe that there needs to be people on site that go up and track these balls and say, "Hey, we need that ball back. That belongs to us. That belongs to, it's going to go into the Reds Hall of Fame Museum. It's going to go, wherever." I just think it's wrong that these players have to negotiate with fans to get something that has, historical meaning to them or to the franchise. Again, we live in this day and age where they constantly try to tell you that the customer's always right. The customer's always right. The customer is not always right. I really don't think it's the end of the world that if Jonathan India, who hit his very first career grand slam last night, if someone within the Reds organization had approached that fan that caught it and said, "Hey, we need that ball back. We'll trade you out with another ball right here." Boom. Everyone goes home happy. I have no clue why stuff like this happens and no one does anything about it. And it may be too late. If I'm that fan and I left and I went home with that ball, and I've spent most of today telling my friends about how I caught Jonathan India's very first career grand slam ball, I'm probably not going to want to give that up either. But again, it shouldn't come down to that. The second that that ball is hit into the stands, that ball should be tracked down. That ball should be swapped out to whatever. And don't say that, "Oh, it can't be done." If it could be done, and I know the ball's bigger in football and basketball, but if it could be done in those sports, it could be done here. It could be done here. It really should not come down to players having to negotiate and give up large sums of money or a ton of memorabilia or a ton of signed items or whatever it is. It should not come down to that. It should not come down to that. I don't know. Am I wrong on that? If you caught that ball, if you were the one at Great American Ballpark who caught Jonathan India's first grand slam ball, Would you have a problem if someone at Great American Ballpark approached you and said, we need that ball back, that ball belongs to Jonathan India, or that ball belongs to us, the Cincinnati Reds? Would you have a problem with that? There's so many things that baseball does that, they don't care about the fans in certain capacities, but then this is the one where they say, well, we don't want to do that. That's part of the fan experience. Well, there's a lot of things that's part of the fan experience that baseball just does not care about when it comes to the fans. Like, how many decades were fans having to get blasted in the face with 1,000 mile per hour balls coming off of a bat before they finally put a net up to protect the fans? Let's stop acting like the fans, like seriously, how many kids had to get blasted in the face with a foul ball before they finally decided to put nets up? So don't tell me that, they're worried about the fans being upset if they tell them to give the ball back. I don't even think it should be up to the fan. The second that ball entered the fans or whatever, someone that should have been right there and said, hey, sir, we need that. Hey, sir. Hey, ma'am. Hey, little one, we need that ball back here. We'll exchange them out. It's as simple as that. 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in the conversation. Trey Green, he says, yeah, it's baseball. You get to keep the ball when it goes into the crowd. Well, I know you get to keep the ball. And that's my point. I don't think you should get to keep the ball. And by the way, this isn't every time the ball goes into the stands, but I do think that there should be some historic, there are some historic situations where that ball necessarily doesn't belong to you. All right. If, and Joey Votto, when his career, like in his final at bat for the Cincinnati Reds, if he hits a home run in his final at bat for the Cincinnati Reds, I don't believe the fan that catches that ball should be able to go home with Joey Votto's final home run as a Cincinnati Red. I think that there should be someone at Great American Ballpark that goes up to that individual, taps him on the shoulder and says, I need that ball back. We'll exchange it. We'll give you a signed bat, whatever. Or just don't negotiate and say, just give us the damn ball back. It's ours. It's as simple as that. Foul balls, more power to you. More power to you. But I think that I think it's sad that Jonathan India is having to beg a fan to give his ball back. That's ridiculous. But I see what you're saying, Trey. But I'm not saying that every ball should not go to the fans. But I think in these types of isolated moments, that ball should go back to Jonathan India. There should be staff on site to track these down to make sure that Jonathan India gets that ball back, or that the Reds get that ball back, whether it's to go in the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. And this just isn't a Reds situation, folks. I'm just using a Reds situation to kind of narrow it in a bit. But I think this is at every ballpark. And honestly, even if this was on the road, if the Reds were in Florida, if the Reds were playing at Miami last night and Jonathan India hit his first career grand slam, and a Marlins fan caught it, I do believe that Marlins staff should have the responsibility of tracking that fan down and saying, hey, we need that ball back. That ball belongs to the Reds, belongs to Jonathan India, and so forth. Foul ball, more power to you. But in those types of moments, I think there should be some kind of communication handed down to go do that. Ron Howard, look at Tom Brady's last touchdown ball. He had to give it up. He had to give up a lot for that ball. And Ron, thank you. I'm using baseball as an example, but football, like Tom Brady should not have had to, beg that guy for that football. That should be Tom Brady's football. That should be, I just, again, this idea that the fan is always right, the customer is always right, that's not the case. I highly doubt that if you tell a fan to give the ball back, that they're going to say, man, that's it. I'm never going to a baseball game again. You are already at a game of one of the worst teams in baseball, and that's going to be what pushes you over the edge to never go to a game again, because you have to give a historic piece back to a player that deserves it more than you. Sorry, you're not going to convince me otherwise on this one. Steve Statler says, I disagree with you. Nothing wrong with the fan that paid for that ticket getting a little something from a millionaire. It's not the Reds' property. It's not the fans' property. Who the hell says it's the Reds? Who says it's the fans' property? Who says it? It's more Jonathan India. That was Jonathan India's very first grand slam. And if you want to say it's not Jonathan India's, then fine. But if I'm the Cincinnati Reds, I'm going to protect my player, and I'm going to say, hey, Phil Castellini, where are you going to go? Well, I tell you, I want that ball. That's my ball. I own that ball. I own this ballpark. Hey, I'll take this team and move it. Give me that damn ball back. Protect your players. The Reds, the players should not have to be hunting down these fans to try to negotiate to get their ball back. I don't like the entitlement to fans. Like, folks, I know that we play a role in professional sports and their ability to make millions. But at the same time, there's a lot of give and take. And I don't think it's asking that much of a player who is saying, hey guys, that means a lot to me. It's my very first Grand Slam. I would love to have that. I would love to have that to hand down to my kids. I'd love to give that to my parents. I'd love to give that to my wife, significant other, whoever. I don't understand that entitlement vibe or feeling that when I walk into a ballpark, that if that ball comes to me, I don't care what it means to you. I don't care if it was your final at bat. I don't care if it's your first home run. I don't care if it's your first hit. I don't care. I don't know. I don't get that mindset. Scott Campbell, if I caught a ball like that, you better believe I'm getting a picture, having something signed and more. Okay, fine. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't agree. I guess it's okay to expect something back from the team. And like I said, maybe maybe team officials come up, hey, we'll trade another ball for that one. Or hey, you'll tell you what, Jonathan India, if you give that ball back, we'll bring you down to the ball or to the clubhouse afterwards. You can get a picture with Jonathan India, whatever. Something. I agree that maybe there should be a little something for the fan in exchange for it. But at the same time, if baseball went to the aggressive decision of, hey, if a ball is hit into the outfield, we have the right to approach you and demand that you give that ball back if it's of historic significance. And honestly, I know it sounds all warm and fuzzy inside. Oh, the fans getting to come up closer. Oh, yeah, there's nothing cuter than a fan holding a player hostage. That screams fan-player relationship right there, huh? Fans looking at Jonathan India. Hey, buddy, you idiot. You want this ball? What are you going to give me? That fans holding players hostage is laughable. Sorry, I can't get on board with that. I know what you're saying, Scott. But the idea that if you caught Jonathan India's Grand Slam last night and he wants it back or the Reds want it back and you're holding it hostage saying this will go back to you if, I don't know. I can't get on board with that, but to each their own. 518-1410, thoughts on that? Jonathan India begging for his first career Grand Slam ball back from the fan. Shouldn't come down to that. Baseball, take care of that. There should be a rule saying, hey, you know what? Any ball that is hit into the stands, we reserve the right to approach that fan and say, we want that ball back, especially if it's of historic, proportions. And last night, that was the case for Jonathan India. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Dayton Classics Baseball is having tryouts for next year's season at Wright State University for 13 through 18-year-old teams. The 13U and 15U premier teams will have non-parent coaches. Tryouts are now through July 26th. Dayton Classics player development has resulted in more than 300 players moving on to college baseball, 30 players to pro baseball, and 4 major leaguers, including current Oakland A's Sean Murphy. Check out DaytonClassics.com or at Dayton Classics on Twitter and Facebook.
Frickers heats up summer with boneless brew and barbecue, boneless frickin' chicken wings, Brew City fries, and barbecue rib tips for only $12.99 dine-in only. Frickers, where kids 10 and under eat free every day. Boneless brew and barbecue. Say it with me.
Boneless brew and barbecue.
Remember that Frickers always has barbecue baby back ribs. Frickers serves up whole and half slabs every day. Boneless brew and barbecue at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
At the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission, we help veterans and their dependents navigate the process of applying for benefits administered by the VA. We can assist with VA claims, pensions, and a variety of benefits, including emergency financial assistance, transportation, and legal services. If you are a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, a wide range of services may be available to you, always at no cost to the veteran. We are honored and proud to serve all Miami Valley veterans. Contact us today at 937-225-4801.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is, fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy inherited properties, vacant homes, rentals, commercial properties, and apartment buildings. Give us a call today and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Sports injury, low back pain, or are you interested in improving your performance and getting to the next level? Orion Sports Medicine is truly a unique sports medicine and physical therapy clinic and training facility. We offer a highly educated staff that is experienced working with athletes from the recreational and youth levels to elite professionals. We offer services that include PT, functional assessment, wellness, fitness, return to sports, sports medicine, strength and conditioning, and more at our state-of-the-art facility in Miamisburg. For more information, visit orionsportsmedicine.com.
With our newest unlimited plan, everyone's welcome. Introducing Welcome Unlimited from Verizon for just $30 a line per month for 4 lines with autopay plus taxes and fees. Our best priced unlimited plan ever.
Did he say $30?
Yep, $30 a line for the whole family. The network you want, the price you love. Switch to Verizon today. Paper-free billing required. Unlimited 5G nationwide 4G LTE. In times of congestion, your data may be temporarily slower than other traffic. All smartphone lines on the account must be on Welcome Unlimited and are eligible only for select promotions. Includes domestic talk, text, and data usage only. Data roaming at 2G speeds.
DQ presents Picture This. Picture yourself at DQ on Thursday, July 28th for Miracle Treat Day. You roll up to order a Blizzard with your friends and family like you have so many times before. But on this day, every flavor comes with a much-needed dose of hope. For every Blizzard you buy at participating locations, $1 or more will be donated to Children's Miracle Network hospitals for your local children's hospital, making Miracle Treat Day the most satisfying way to give hope to kids in your community. Thursday, July 28th at DQ.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. An oil change with quality oil like Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic can help your engine get more out of every mile. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $35.99. Get what you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Wendy's new Strawberry Frosty is here, so check your watch. Is it Frosty time yet? It probably is. The hour hand would be on, I'm feeling snacky. And the minute hand would be on, relaxing with a rich, creamy strawberry Frosty on a summer day, just digging into that smooth, chilly deliciousness and vibing. You know, depending on what kind of watch you have. When it's time for Frosty time, choose wisely. Choose Wendy's Frosty and Classic Chocolate or New Strawberry.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
The Reds took game 1 last night against the Marlins, 11-2. Game 2 coming up here later on tonight on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 WING. You'll catch most of that game. We'll cut away from the Reds game to hand it off to myself and Norm Greavy at UD Arena tonight for the TBT on WING. But for the most part, you'll catch most of that Reds game tonight against the Marlins. Hunter Green on the mound. We'll see if the Reds can continue their little mini winning streak, if you will. Again, they've won 9 of their last 12 games. And that's good enough to still keep them in last place. But hey, 9-3 in their last 12 games. Look, I didn't think this was going to strike a chord with many. I didn't think it was that hot of a take to say that, hey, if a player, with an at bat hits a milestone ball, whether it's their first home run or first grand slam or what have you, I just believe that ball, I don't understand why organizations don't have people in place to go and approach fans and say, hey, that ball has historic significance. Therefore, that ball belongs to us. And we will be glad to give you something in exchange, maybe come down and meet the player, or maybe just tell the fan to buzz off. It's ours. I mean, not everything. I get it. Fans feel like they are entitled to, well, everything. That's how we are. We think that everything should be handed to us, right? There should always be something in it for us. It's not always the case. You bought a ticket. There should be something in it for us. You bought a ticket. You're at the ballpark. You're watching the game. You're watching pro baseball. You're watching your team. There should be more in it for you. I don't get that mentality. So for those who are just tuning in, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Mine is Kev Nash. He'll be back next week. But I just have Jonathan India last night hit his very first career grand slam. And he had to tweet out a few hours ago because he's still hunting this ball down. And to my knowledge, he has not done so yet. Maybe he has. But he tweets out 3 hours ago that to the fan who caught my first career grand slam last night, would love to make a trade for the ball. And I don't know why that kind of struck a nerve with me, because I'm like, that's kind of sad. That stinks that he has to negotiate with fans to get something of historical significance to him back to him when he shouldn't have to sign a ball or take a picture or do a cameo call just to appease the fan. Like the Reds should have some kind of policy in place. Major League Baseball should have a policy in place that any ball that is hit of any kind of historic significance, the league should have personnel that approaches that fan and says, we need that ball back. And like I said, if they want to do the thing where they feed the entitlement to fans and say, hey, here you go, we'll give you a signed jersey and a signed baseball and free, 5 years of free season tickets, more power to, or you could just say, hey, it's our ballpark, it's our team, give me the damn ball back. I don't know. So we're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube as well, getting your opinions there. Have a couple calls on hold. We'll get to you guys in 60 seconds. But I want to continue reading this. Scott Campbell said, if I caught a ball like that, you better believe I'm getting a picture, having something signed and more. And my counter to that was, why would you as a fan, you say you're a fan of this team, you're a fan of Jonathan India, but you're going to hold his ball hostage. Oh, I'll give you your ball back, but you're going to pay me, or you're going to take a picture with me, or you're going to sign something for me, or you're going to pay off my mortgage. But we're fans of that team. We're fans of our team, but we're going to hold our favorite players hostage. We love our players, but we're going to hold them hostage. I don't get that. Continuing to go down the list, Randy Bertholf says Randy's on YouTube, which you can also catch the show live on YouTube, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. I believe the fan will give it back. One could assume that they weren't aware of the value India had in his first grand slam. The first home run, hit, and strikeout is obvious. Maybe not a grand slam. And that's fair. And by the way, I'm not even mad at the fan technically if he doesn't give it back, because technically he doesn't have to, and I understand that. My argument is that there should be a policy in place to prevent this from happening. There should be something in place to where the fan doesn't feel like he's being bullied to give it back. And on the flip side, the player should not feel like he has to go hire a private investigator to go track down the fan who has this ball. If there's a policy in place, I think it's just a good third-party appeasement for both sides. Fans won't be upset because they weren't expecting anything. The ball comes to them. That's great. Hold the ball up. Hey, Mom, look, I'm on TV. I caught a foul ball. Now give it back. I don't know. That's just me. Scott Campbell says, I wouldn't be holding them hostage. I just want to capture the moment in a picture and have something to talk about when people see it hanging up in my home. Well, I get that. There's a lot of, I'm sure you would love to hang it up in your home. I'm sure you would love to brag to friends and, hey, look what I got. But that's my point, though. I know you would want it. There's a lot of things that fans would want. The fans would love after the game. Hey, the first one to first base gets to pull the first base out and take it home with them. You can't do that. I don't know. I'm on the opposite side here. I just believe that fans shouldn't be entitled to everything, and they shouldn't be entitled to a ball that has historic significance to a player, like a career milestone, like Jonathan India's first grand slam last night at Great American Ballpark. Your home fans holding something that means something dear to you hostage. Who needs booing opposing fans when you have home fans like that? Adam says, might be too harsh, but if MLB wants baseballs back, they cover up to a certain amount for potential injury from said baseball for fans. Rewrite that. Either I don't know how to read or I miss. Yeah, I don't understand what you're trying to say there. Keith Tolliver says, if you don't want fans to have the ball put up netting, foul balls, fair game, but home runs belong to the team. Not saying I would do this, just offering a baseball type of solution. Yeah, and Keith, and that's what I said earlier. It doesn't mean that every ball that goes into the stands has to be given back to the league. I just think there needs to be personnel on site that is, that means being aware of these things. Hey, if there is some nerdy stat crew guy that's up in the media booth that can tell Jim Day and tell the broadcasters that, hey, by the way, that was Jonathan India's very first career Grand Slam. If that information can get to the broadcasters, I'm pretty sure that information can get down to personnel, spread out throughout the field, so they could track that ball down and get it back. It doesn't mean that every home run has to go back to this team. It doesn't mean that every foul ball has to go back to the team. I just mean in situations like that. But Adam, yeah, I agree with you. As far as that, look, there's so many balls that go into the stands on a game in, game out basis. It's not like there's going to be personnel chasing every one of them down. I just mean in those isolated situations. All right, I'll continue to read your Facebook comments here in a moment, but let's go to the phones. 518-1410. Jonathan India, first career Grand Slam last night. He wants that ball back. He had to go to Twitter to try to hunt down the fan that got it, not hunt down in a, that sounds aggressive and has a negative connotation to it. But I just feel bad for the players that they feel that they have to negotiate with fans to get their ball back. And I feel bad that fans of their team look at the athletes that they idolize and say, well, what's it worth to you? This is my payday opportunity. I can't wrap my head around fans of teams who would stoop to the level of holding that piece of history hostage. I'm a big Jonathan India fan, but if he asks for this ball back, I tell you what, he has another thing coming. Then you're not a real fan. I don't know. 518-1410. Let's go to Tom. Tom in Dayton. How are you, sir? Welcome.
I'm well, Justin. How you doing?
Not too bad. You did say go Browns a little bit ago when I answered the phone, correct?
Every time I call there, I say go Browns.
Well,
brother.
Go Browns. How are you, man? I'm glad the season's almost here, even with all the headaches that might be coming with it.
I'm waiting on my tickets. They just came in yesterday, man. I'm ready to roll. Hey, I was just calling about, I'm going to disagree with you. Something you said a little earlier about, you said that's English's ball. What makes that his ball?
I think it's more his than it is the fan. I mean, it's more his. He plays for the Reds Major League Baseball. Reds play Great American Ballpark. Anything in that ballpark is the Reds. I think that they have more. I mean, and to be fair here, maybe I see what you're saying where it's not necessarily his ball, but the Reds should have a policy in place to protect their players so that if they do want that ball back, that the Reds are the bad guy. The Reds are the ones making the fan give it back instead of the player having to chase it down.
Well, the only policy I know of, though, and at least they used to do this. I'm an old part, but they used to announce before games any ball hit into the crowd was your ball. You were welcome to have that ball. Just be safe and be aware and be alert. That was your ball.
Oh no, and that is
on tickets as well.
And that's the policy. And I'm not going to debate that. What I'm debating is that maybe there should be a little bit of an asterisk there or a disclaimer saying, hey, yes, foul balls, any ball that's hit out into the stands, you have access to, but there may be a historic, at bat, or there may be something of significance that we may approach you and demand to have that ball back, whether it be a historic home run, a player's first home run, or something along those lines. And by the way, I don't think this is that big of a deal, me promoting that, because this happens so far and few between that I don't think it's going to ruin the ballpark experience for every fan that goes to a game.
Well, the only thing that would ruin it for me is if someone came down there and said, I have to have that ball back or you're out of the ballpark. That'd be a problem for me. There'd be a fight right there in that section. And the other thing is...
you sound like a damn Browns fan, Tom. That's the most Browns fan thing I've ever heard right there.
Well, and the other thing is it should be between the fan and the player. And nobody else should be involved. That's just how I feel about it. If he wants it back, make contact. There should be some kind of record on who that seat was sold to, and make contact. And if you want to work something out, so to speak, do it. Myself, if a guy called me, said, hey, I heard you have my ball, hit my first Grand Slam, I'd love to have that ball back, I'd say, you're more than welcome to it, pal.
Fair.
But that's me. So anyway, that's all I got, man. Go Browns. Deshaun Watson, 16 games this year, baby. Let's go.
So you're saying a 1-game suspension then, if that's the case. Tom, appreciate you. And I get that. And I think that's going to be the popular take is I know I'm in the minority on this. I know fans are not going to call in and say, hey, I agree. If I go to a game and catch a foul ball or catch a home run ball, I should have to give it back. I know that you guys are not going to want to give it back, but that's okay. you shouldn't want to give it back. There's a lot of things I wouldn't want to do, but I'm looking at it from the player's perspective. I think it's unfair to the players that they have to basically negotiate with their own fans to get something back that has historic significance to them. I mean, that's his very first Grand Slam ball. Jonathan India should not have to be the bad guy with his own fan base, and I think it's the fan base that's being bad against him if they're making him, Jonathan India, I love you, man. I'm wearing your jersey. You're my favorite player. But I don't like you enough to give you this ball back. I'm going to make you give me something first. Like, how about the experience of him hitting the home run and then putting on a great offensive performance last night and then winning the ball game, which doesn't happen often in 2022 for your Cincinnati Reds. All right, let's continue the phones. 518-1410. I believe he said his name is Later. Later, how are you, sir? Welcome. Later, you there? All right, talk to you later. 518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. But the bottom line is that I know that I'm going to remain in the minority on this, and that's okay. But I just don't feel like fans are entitled to everything that enters the stands out there, mainly because, like I said, there's historic meaning to some of these balls. There's historic meaning to some of these at-bats to these players, and even, to the teams. So that's all. I just don't think it's right that Jonathan India is having to negotiate on behalf of himself like he's Lamar Jackson fighting for a contract in the National Football League, especially negotiating against his own fans. That ain't right. All right, good stuff. Appreciate everyone jumping in on the phone calls and, of course, on social media. Head to Facebook. Everyone has Facebook. Like and subscribe and follow to the Justin Kinner Show page on Facebook. That's where you can watch the show live and you can let your opinion be known on this particular matter. We'll get back into this later on in the show. But good stuff. Appreciate everyone's input. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming up next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
This is your captain speaking. You better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I noticed my passport was due to expire, so I went to Staples. I got a passport photo in 10 minutes, so we're good to go.
Now at Staples, purchase a travel service and get 20% off the rest of your purchase. Get travel ready at Staples, your one-stop travel prep destination.
Hey, let me tell you about another time that Staples saved my caboose. That all started
back. N731, in-store only, excludes Instacart orders, certain products, services, and technology. See staplesconnect.com/services/travel for details.
Someday it may happen to you. OVI, DUI, criminal, even divorce custody. And when it does, the one thing you're going to need is legal advice. Someone who can help. The Cordalis Law Office is here to help you with multiple areas of focus. Attorney Carl Cordalis and his team have you covered. The Cordalis Law Office. Experience, integrity, reliability. Visit cordalis-law.com for more info or give them a call today, 937-224-1212 to hear how they can help you.
What do you want for dinner? I want state fair food. Corn dogs, turkey legs, funnel cakes, and deep fried buckeyes, cheese on a stick, deep fried cookie dough, cream pie.
Taste the flavors of the Ohio State Fair, July 27th through August 7th. OhioStateFair.com.
A News Nation exclusive. Chris Cuomo in his first TV interview since leaving CNN. Chris Cuomo on Dan Abrams Live, tonight at 9, 8 Central, only on News Nation.
Looking for dippable chicken that's done right? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken for the 10-piece strips meal at a great price. You'll get 10 premium chicken tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 2 of our large sides, 5 fluffy biscuits, and 3 of your favorite dipping sauces. These are the best strips. No bones about it. Make your family and your wallet happy with the 10-piece strips meal, only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Find the perfect lighting solution with 11% off everything at Menards. Add recessed lighting to any room in your home with dimmable 6-inch ultra-thin wafer downlights from Juno. Their low-profile design fits in virtually any ceiling, and they can be installed in minutes with no recessed housing required. Juno downlights are 11% off at Menards. Good through July 31st. Savings are mail-in rebates. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
They say to never mess with the classics, but Panera did just that and more with our new Chef's Chicken Sandwiches. By using pan-seared chicken, our secret garlic aioli recipe, Parmesan crisps, and pickle chips, all on a buttery brioche roll. Because if no one messed with the classics, you never have a chicken sandwich this good. New Chef's Chicken Sandwiches from Panera. Only $1 delivery fee when you order on our app. Restrictions apply. For details, visit PaneraBread.com/delivery info.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Orion Sports Medicine is a proud sponsor of the Red Scare and the TBT on WING. For more info on how Orion Sports Medicine can help you, visit orionsportsmed.com. Go Flyers. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Hour two, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. 518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We ended the last hour of the show, and we'll move on from this here in a moment. But Jonathan India still searching for that grand slam ball that he hit last night at Great American Ballpark. Had himself a night. Reds offense, I mean, their lineup, I mean, there was some pop all up and down that lineup last night between Drury, between obviously Jonathan India, who had himself, a night's fam was great. I mean, just a lot of guys stepped up last night, but it was Jonathan India's performance that really had Great American Ballpark rocking last night. It's my first game I'd been to at the ballpark, at Great American Ballpark, in about 3 years, 2.5 years, I guess. I mean, it's been a while, but nonetheless. So, hit his first grand slam. He's on social media searching for the fan that caught that. And as I stated, I'm not going to get into this too much more this show, but I just believe a policy should be implemented by Major League Baseball that, hey, they reserve the right. I mean, hey, yes, if a ball's hit into the stands and you catch it, okay, it might be yours, but if baseball should reserve the right to approach you and say, hey, we need that ball back. That was so-and-so's first career home run, or that was career home run number 500, or that was his first grand slam, or, hey, bite me, it's ours. It's as simple as that. I believe they should reserve the right, just like baseball and the Reds, they reserve the right to do pretty much whatever they want within that ballpark if they see fit. It doesn't mean that they should abuse it, and I honestly do not think baseball would be abusing their power. Telling a fan that caught the home run or the grand slam ball, the first career grand slam of a player, I don't think that's baseball abusing their power, saying, hey, we need that ball back, man. And if you're a true fan of a team, you shouldn't be holding your team hostage. You shouldn't be holding one of your favorite players hostage. That's really how I view. That's what I really just can't wrap my head around. If you are a true Reds fan and you caught Jonathan India's first career grand slam last night and he says he wants it back, how are you as a true fan going to look at Jonathan India, the player that's on the team that you say you're a fan of, and say, what's it worth to you? You're not a true fan. You're holding your team hostage. I'm sorry, but if you make a list of things that show you're a top fan, I don't think holding your team hostage would be at the top of that list. Just say it. 518-1410. I believe this is Andrew. Andrew, welcome. Andrew, is this you? All right, we're done with that. Moving on. Yesterday, I jumped into this about Tyler Stevenson. Tyler Stevenson, of course, experienced a very unfortunate injury over the weekend on Sunday. This past Sunday, of course, talking about, the Reds really starting their second half of the season, coming out and against the Cardinals on Sunday, Tyler Stevenson got hit by a foul tip right in the collarbone. And he was confident at the time that he was fine. All right. And then Graham Ashcraft, who was pitching that day, threw the very next pitch. And it was a little bit of a wild pitch. Stevenson didn't feel any discomfort at first, but then when he went to try to throw out the runner at second, that's when everything just really kind of went bad. That's when he heard the pop, and that's when things really went bad. Now, this is significant because it's the third time that Tyler Stevenson has had to go on the IL, that has had to miss a significant stretch of time. And every one of these injuries that he has experienced have all come from behind the plate. They have not come from, just straining a quad or, anything like that, like, stepping in the batter's box or just, whatever, just an injury at home. Everyone, technically at his home, but at home plate is where the majority of these injuries, if not all of these injuries, are happening. We know that the catcher position is, the most physical position in baseball. And you can make your jokes about how soft baseball is compared to what it used to be, and that's totally fine, but it does not take away the fact that when you have a sport that their entire nature is preventative measures, why is it that when there's an opportunity where the most obvious reason to take a preventative measure is presented, they don't take it? David Bell, everything he does is for preventative measures. Hey, my starting pitcher, he still looks fantastic, but you know what? I don't want to risk him starting to slow down and us giving up the lead, so we're going to go to a fresh arm out of the bullpen. Everything he does is for preventative measures. Everything. That's the whole reason that baseball has adopted analytics to the extreme, the way that they do, because the numbers show that even if we're striking out, the numbers are in our favor. If we continue to swing for the fences, yes, there's going to be some bad that happens, but man, the chances of something good happening as we go for, try to go for a home run every time we're in the box, everything's preventative measures. We're going to do everything that we can to prevent the least wanted outcome from happening. So the least wanted outcome that you want to have happen is your star player, Tyler Stevenson, getting hurt and missing time. So guess what, David Bell? You're Mr. Preventative Measure. The only preventative measure you need to take moving forward that will actually mean something for your team is, let's take Tyler Stevenson out of that catcher position spot. Let's use him in the DH. And there's so many reasons why I can hold David Bell accountable moving forward for his decision-making when it comes to Tyler Stevenson moving forward. And here's one of them. It used to be, especially in the National League, you're strapped a little bit. Okay, if you have Joey Votto at first wrapped up for quite some time and Stevenson can't play third or second and not a great outfielder, you're locked into keeping him as the catcher. But because the National League did not have the designated hitter, you didn't have the DH back then. So you were kind of strapped to forcing these guys to play a position that maybe they weren't the best at because you didn't really have anywhere else to move them. I think that the National League's implementation of the DH is actually going to save Joey Votto's career in the next couple of years because as he becomes older and, not as, declining as far as defensively is concerned at first base, whatever team has him, maybe it's still the Reds, maybe whoever, Toronto, they're going to put him in that DH spot. Now, I know the American League already has the DH, but the point is the DH is going to extend Votto's career if he stays in the National League. But there's flexibility now with the DH. You don't have to keep Tyler Stevenson at catcher. There's no excuse. David Bell, every decision he makes is based off preventative measures. You say it's based off analytics. Analytics are basically preventative measures. We are trying to prevent the outcome that we don't want. And the outcome that we don't want is Tyler Stevenson continuing to get hurt. Why does he continue to get hurt? Because he plays the most physical position in baseball. Every injury, the 3 stints he's had on the IL this season, and this is most likely a season-ending injury, all of them have happened with plays at the plate, but with him behind the plate. And we've seen when he's on that field, when he's in the middle of that lineup, he paces them. They are a much different-looking team when he's in the lineup. David Bell, Mr. Preventative Measure, you need to find ways to prevent him from getting hurt, and the best way to prevent him from getting hurt is to keep him from the one position that has continued to hurt him this entire 4-month stretch of this season. April, May, June, and now all of July. 3 stints on the IL, all playing that catcher position, and this isn't just a David Bell thing. This is up top. Now, I had this problem with Tyler Stevenson's quotes and media sessions over the weekend. As you guys know, I'm a Browns fan, and as you guys know, I was a constant Baker defender and may still be for quite some time, but that's a conversation for later. But there was a point last year where even I had a problem with Baker Mayfield, and the problem that I had with Baker Mayfield was when he came out and he was being questioned by media about his quality of play. And is there is it because of the injury that he experienced in week 2 against the Texans when Baker Mayfield dislocated that shoulder, and it was the non-throwing shoulder. When he had that injury that he suffered in week 2, obviously his play declined significantly. And every time he was asked about it, he would be kind of snippy back with the media and say, I decide if I play. I decide if I'm healthy enough to play. No one's going to tell me that I can't play because they think I'm injured or whatever. He was just defiant. And I kept saying, why is he saying that? Why does he feel like, and I blamed Kevin Stefanski. I blamed the Browns. I blamed the organization because Baker sure has a habit of saying a lot of things that you probably shouldn't say, but he also says certain things because he can and because he knows there's going to be no repercussions. The Browns never held him accountable for saying to the media, no one's going to tell me that I can or can't play because of this injury. I know my body. Nobody else does. I'm going to play. And I had a problem with that. And I was a Baker defender. I said, first of all, Baker Mayfield should not be saying these things. And it's clear that the injury is impacting his play. And most athletes, though, if it's up to them, they will go out there and continue to play injured. Every uber competitive athlete out there, if they are injured, but you still give them the choice to play, guess who's going to choose to play? The uber competitive athlete. Baker Mayfield did what every athlete would do if you gave them the option to play injured. He played injured. He was stubborn. It was foolish. It not only hurt the team, but it hurt his career trajectory because now look, who knows what the future for Baker Mayfield is. And I do believe that the Browns could have protected him from himself if they wanted to. And I believe that the Reds could protect Tyler Stevenson from himself if he wanted to. Now, I brought up the Baker Mayfield comparison because so many of you non-Browns fans and Browns haters and Baker haters came at me ripping Baker Mayfield for how defiant he was in those press clippings. And I said, I agree with you. He sounds pretty silly. He should not get to decide whether or not he plays or not, that the team should have protected him from himself. So I talked about this on the show yesterday. There were some quotes from Tyler Stevenson that I had a problem with. And the quotes were that basically he just told the Reds and he told all the fans that I get to decide, and I've decided I'm going to remain the Reds catcher. That I have a problem with. They need to protect him from himself. Here was the quote from Tyler Stevenson yesterday, that I know that injuries are going to happen. If it does come to a point where something physically is not going to allow me to catch, that's a different story. Obviously, I know what my decision is. I want to catch. That's fine that you want to catch. Doesn't mean that you're going to catch. And he shouldn't catch moving forward. I watched what Jonathan India did last night. It was unfreaking believable. I've watched what Tyler Stevenson has done this season when he is healthy. Unfreaking believable. If the Reds, moving forward in the National League Central, have Jonathan India in his prime and Tyler Stevenson in his prime, and those are the benchmarks for this team moving forward, my goodness, look out. The only thing stopping that from happening is bonehead decision-making by the Reds front office, continuing to throw him out there behind the plate. Now, I know that you're going to hear from Johnny Bench and others who come out and say, oh, that's, you can't always worry about injuries and blah. This is a sport that is based upon analytics, which is all about the best outcome possible. So why would all of a sudden the sport that lives and breathes off of that analytical approach of we are going to make every decision off of the numbers and what shows us the best probability of the outcome that we want happening? Why would all of a sudden now they throw that logic out the window when it comes to Tyler Stevenson? Now numbers and results don't matter. Now it's off of gut, and now it's off of trusting instinct. Now we're going to go with that. That's ludicrous, if you ask me. Protect Tyler Stevenson from himself, and my goodness, protect the Reds fans from having to go through another season like this. It's bad enough the roster wasn't good to start the season, but what little good players the Reds have had this season, they can't stay out on the field. I don't blame the Reds organization for why this team, has had some bad luck with injuries, but I do blame them for continuing to throw Tyler Stevenson out in these situations where he has continued to get hurt. 1 time, 2 times, now 3 times. I mean, are we going to make it 4th? Are we going to make it a 4th? Is he going to be the catcher to start next season? Oh, probably, most likely. But this is why moving on from Tucker Barnhart was kind of silly. The Reds had options. They had options. You do not have to. It's not like there's no DH. It's not like you don't have an option to move him elsewhere. You're going to have an option here in the near future with Joey Votto's contract coming up finally to where they might be able to experiment with him at first base. And now all of a sudden you have an all-star first baseman replacing your legendary first baseman, Joey Votto. And let's not act like the Reds have not tried. Let's not act like the Reds have not, drafted enough catchers over. I mean, I think they've 5 or 6 catchers over the last 3 years they've drafted. So, yeah, I mean, we got to stop doing this whole thing where, oh my gosh, the Reds got toughened up. No, not in this particular situation. Maybe he's going to be an injury-prone player moving forward, and, that's a conversation to have later. But for right now, I think we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt and just say that these injuries are stemming from the most physical position out on the field right now. Let's see what happens if we move into first base. Less collision plays. All right, less jerky plays where he's having to, move from side to side. Like, I just think that this makes too much sense. Protect your asset, and your asset right now is Tyler Stevenson and Jonathan India. And having one of them on the field is great, but having both of them on the field at the same time in that lineup, my goodness, look out. All right. Y'all have disagreed with me with pretty much everything I've said today, so let's hear why you disagree with me on this one. 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Also, go to the Facebook page and read your conversations there as well, or your feedback there as well. 518-1410, more of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Today we have mostly cloudy skies with a high of 79 degrees. Tonight, expect showers overnight with a low of 71. And for your midweek Wednesday, scattered thunderstorms and a high of 81 degrees. And I'm Lorna Stevens for 1410 ESPN Radio.
The ONN Daily Podcast. Get a recap of all the day's news from across the state. The ONN Daily Podcast. Listen at onnradio.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts from the Ohio News Network.
The Big Hoopla is proud to welcome the TBT, the basketball tournament, back to the Gem City. Join the Big Hoopla and all the fun and excitement as we cheer on Dayton's alumni team, the Red Scare. The stakes are high as TBT is a $1 million winner-take-all event. We'll see you at UD Arena for the Dayton Regionals and the TBT Championship July 24th through August 2nd. For tickets and sponsorship information, visit DaytonHoopla.com. That's DaytonHoopla.com.
This your captain speaking. You better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I noticed my passport was due to expire, so I went to Staples. I got a passport photo in 10 minutes, so we're good to go.
Now at Staples, purchase a travel service and get 20% off the rest of your purchase. Get travel ready at Staples, your one-stop travel prep destination.
Hey, let me tell you about another time that Staples saved my caboose. That all started
N731, in-store only, excludes Instacart orders, certain products, services, and technology. See staplesconnect.com/services/travel for details.
Say hello to Zoom One. Zoom One brings together Zoom meetings, chat, whiteboard, phone, and more, all in one place to streamline your team's communications so you can simplify the way you work, whether you're in the office, at home, or a mix of both. Get more of the Zoom you know and love with meetings, chat, whiteboard, and phone bundled together into Zoom One. Find out more at zoom.com/one. Zoom One features vary by plan.
Now, local businesses can get closer to every customer in their city with fast, affordable shipping. Introducing USPS Connect Local. You want speed? We deliver same or next day. You want savings? We give you supplies at a flat rate. You want less legwork? We do free pickups. Move your local business forward with the United States Postal Service. Let's connect at USPSconnect.com/local. Specific markets, restrictions apply. Same day or next day delivery expected, but not guaranteed with entry close to final destination.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
Calling all residential HVAC service technicians. Are you tired of working 12 hours straight with no overtime? If you answered yes, contact Reek Services today. Reek has been servicing commercial and industrial HVAC systems in the Miami Valley for 130 years, and we're hiring dedicated, talented technicians who are looking for a long-term career in the HVAC service industry. At Reek, you're eligible for overtime pay if you work more than 8 hours. Apply today at Reek Services, RIECK services.com.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. I'd like to invite you to my new series called Connecting with the Community. On the third Tuesday of each month, I will be hosting a monthly discussion where citizens can come and learn more about different areas of local government. Connecting with the Community will be held at the new Employment Opportunity Center in the Westtown Shopping Center on West 3rd Street.
On Tuesday, August 16th at 6 p.m., we will feature Montgomery County Treasurer John McManus to talk about financial literacy.
Brought to you by Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts.
Frickers heats up summer with boneless brew and barbecue, boneless frickin' chicken wings, Brew City fries, and barbecue rib tips for only $12.99 dine-in only. Frickers, where kids 10 and under eat free every day. Boneless brew and barbecue. Say it with me.
Boneless brew and barbecue.
Remember that Frickers always has barbecue baby back ribs. Frickers serves up whole and half slabs every day. Boneless brew and barbecue at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Montgomery County veterans, we're here to serve you. You served your country, and now it's time we served you. You are entitled to many VA benefits, to include compensation, pension, and more. Call 937-225-4801 or online at mcvsc.org.
God, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Ooma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooh, Uma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma, smart communications for the smarter business.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Try Wendy's hot and crispy fries. Natural cut, skin on fries, prepared to golden goodness. Perfectly sprinkled with sea salt, just the way they should be. Try Wendy's hot and crispy fries today at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. I'm Justin Kenner hanging out with you here on a Tuesday. Coming up here later on tonight, we have the TBT on WING, so make sure you tune in. 9 o'clock is the tip-off, and it'll be myself and former Flyer Norm Greavy on the call. Pretty jacked for tonight's matchup. Again, the Dayton Flyers Red Scare, they were able to take down City Team this past Sunday in Game 1 of what we hope is 6 total throughout this TBT tournament run. As the the Flyers Red Scare, they are in pursuit of that $1 million grand prize, and the cool part is they get to do it in front of their home fans throughout this entire week. And we're hoping that they win tonight, win tomorrow, continue winning into the weekend, the championship game. We're hoping we're watching Ryan Mikesell, Trey Landers, Scoochie Smith, Seibert, of course, V. Sanford, Josh Cunningham. We're hoping, we're watching the whole group win this championship a week from tonight. But there'll be an action tonight, 9 o'clock to tip off, and Norm Greavy and myself will be on the call. So make sure you tune in tonight at 9 o'clock, unless you're, of course, going to the arena, in which we hope to see you there. 518-1410. Tyler Stevenson, again, was quoted over the weekend of saying that he knows what his choice is as far as, he was asked about, hey, this is your, third time being injured like this in 4 months. What do you think? What do you think about changing positions? He said, no, he wants to be a catcher. He is not budging. He's going to be a catcher moving forward, and just very defiant, almost, in my opinion. Comes across very defiant. Comes across very Baker Mayfield-esque. And what I mean by that is Baker Mayfield last year when he was injured and continued to play through the injury. Every time he was asked about it, there was just no way. I mean, Baker couldn't admit, and I think being humble. Heaven forbid Baker be humble. And I'm not saying Tyler Stevens is not humble. I'm not really comparing their personalities. I'm just comparing the approaches to how they're handling media when it comes to their injuries. Baker would have come across more humble and likable, as crazy as that sounds, had he said, look, I do know that I am not playing as, I'm not performing at the level that I would like to be performing at because of this injury, but I want to continue to battle it out and fight for my teammates. I think he becomes a more likable, sympathetic figure at that point. But when Baker came out last year and said, absolutely not. No one's going to tell me that I can't play because of this. I know my body better than anybody. I don't care what the doctors say. I don't care what the coaches say. That's when he became unlikable. That's when he went from being a sympathetic figure to just sounding very, just defiant. And he became unlikable, more unlikable than he already was last year, right? And I'm not saying that's Tyler Stevenson necessarily, but his approach of, well, I've made my decision. I'm remaining a catcher. Well, it's not up to you. It shouldn't be up to him. If I'm the Reds, I'm approaching him and saying, hey, your best ability is availability. And because you're playing this catcher position, you're not available. Now, Shaw, what's up, man? I'm glad to read that, we're still the same. You still disagree with everything I say. He says, let's see. Hold on. I got to go back to find where you were talking about. So, Shaw, you said so what you're implying is that baseball may as well take their catchers out and replace them with robots. Yes, Shaw, that's exactly what I'm implying. His position is catcher. He knows what he signed up for. This would be like saying offensive linemen get hurt because they play a physical position, so they shouldn't be there. I completely disagree. It's the game. Don't use football to compare to baseball. It's not even close to being the same. And not every situation is the same. Tucker Barnhart didn't have have a durability issue playing the catcher position for the Cincinnati Reds. Tucker Barnhart was a solid hitter. He was a Gold Glove catcher. I mean, he did everything you needed him to do. Tucker Barnhart didn't have a durability issue to the catcher position. So you didn't worry about that with him. There are some all-star catchers who you don't, Real Muto and guys like that, you don't have to worry about that with them. With Stevenson, he clearly has a durability issue at the catcher with the catcher position. So no, this isn't a catcher conversation. This is a Tyler Stevenson conversation. This is a conversation that, okay, clearly Tyler Stevenson is a little bit, and fragile has a negative connotation to it, so I'm not taking a shot and saying he's soft, but I mean, the facts are right in front of us. I mean, the evidence is right in front of us. I mean, 3 stints on the IL in 4 months, that's, hello? And the third stint comes within weeks after coming back from the second stint. So no, Shaw, stop being dramatic. My gosh. I go home and my wife and we have these, we bicker back and forth. And I'm always like, man, Nora, I love you, but why are you so dramatic? Shaw, I don't love you, but why are you so dramatic? Because I'm saying that, hey, the catcher that has been on the IL 3 times in 4 months, that maybe they should move him away from that position. And you're saying that, oh, we should just get rid of the catcher position and put robots in. Stop being dramatic. Don't be silly. Don't get my blood pressure up with silly comments like that, because I think deep down you know what the hell I'm talking about. In this isolated situation, this is about Tyler Stevenson's durability, playing the catcher position. And we know how valuable he is with the bat in his hand. And if playing the catcher position, which he is really good at, by the way, he is as good a catcher as he is a hitter. But if him being as good a catcher as he is a hitter is sacrificing what he brings to the table to this lineup, I think that the Reds have to sit there and say, we have a better chance at finding a good, solid defensive catcher with limited offensive skills than we do a very solid hitting offensive catcher, at the same level. You look at the Reds' top prospect list right now. In the top 10, they don't even have one catcher. I'm sorry, they do. Matthew Nelson. They have one catcher in their top 10 as far as prospects: outfielders, second baseman, third baseman, right-handed pitchers, left-handed pitchers, shortstop, third baseman, one catcher. And then the Matthew Nelson, who's 10th on their prospect list, you have to keep scrolling down and down. I mean, I'm at you got to get all the way down to 21. Jackson Miller. By the way, it's not bad. These aren't bad prospects, but they have options that they could try out to figure out. And by the way, that's what this season is for, and that's what next season's for. The Reds moving forward need to find a way to have some kind of platoon system, and it makes me want to vomit that I'm even using the word platoon, because I hate that. I think if, like in the NFL, if you have 2 quarterbacks, that means you have no quarterbacks. All right. And if you have 3 catchers, that means you have no catchers, because clearly you don't have that one guy that you can look at. But you know what? The Reds are not going to have a perfect lineup 1 through 9. They're not going to have a perfect option at every single position on the field. Kind of talked about this with the Bengals. They have all this talent, and they have to figure out who they need to financially prioritize. And unfortunately, they're going to have to keep their star wide receivers. They're going to have to weaken themselves at safety, right? Like, they would love to have one of the best safeties in football and have one of the best wide receivers in football, but you can't have both. So you have to go with the one that's going to help you out. And going with Tyler Stevenson at first base or the designated hitter and weakening yourself at catcher in the meantime to keep him in your lineup, that's just what you're going to have to do. But yes, Shaw, be dramatic, please, and insinuate that I'm saying that we just need to get rid of catcher position and put robots in there. My goodness, what's wrong with you? First day back on Facebook, and you already have my blood pressure up. My blood pressure had dropped significantly, not being on the digital side for the week. And here we are. But nonetheless, it's going to be a debate moving forward. This is that next big Reds debate that we're going to be having these conversations a lot moving forward. The big Reds debate, it used to be, the Joey Votto contract. Should they have given Brandon Phillips the contract? Johnny Cueto, or Homer Bailey. They should have given Johnny Cueto the contract. You know what I mean? Like, they shouldn't have traded not Jonathan India. They shouldn't have traded Jesse Winker. They should have kept Jesse Winker. They should have tried to keep Castellano. This is going to be the one that we have this conversation, this debate moving forward. What to do with Tyler Stevenson. And it sounds crazy, but it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have because this is how good of a player he is, and the Reds are having to figure out how to maximize his talent. And I think maximizing his talent means impact. You're going to hurt the defense a tad because you're going to take him out of the position that he helps you defensively, but what he brings to the table offensively with that bat in the hand is more valuable to the Reds than what he does behind the plate. 518-1410. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, how are you, sir? Thanks for holding.
I'm good, Justin. Thank you. I agree with your statement about Tyler being available. 100%. My concern is I don't know how he is at first base, for one. And then, is Votto retiring after this year? I just didn't know that.
He has about another year. He has another year on that contract. I think he's going to. I mean, look, the Reds aren't going to trade him. He's not going to push to be traded. He's hitting 214 right now. I think the way he hit the ball last year, he was obviously carrying his weight. He's not doing as much so this year. But I think you've come this far in this contract. It'd be silly to get rid of him with 1 year left, and you're not going to compete next year. You might as well keep him there. But I would start platooning at first base and switching between DH and first base, Votto and Stevenson next year, and then take one of your young catchers throughout the system and try figuring out, okay, do you have something there? Or when it's come time to spending money in free agency in the summer or in the off season of 2023, I think that's when you decide, okay, do we need to spend on a catcher or do we have one that's coming up through the ranks? I think that's what the Reds are going to be trying to answer here in the next year and a half.
The only interesting part to me is, are we already cashing next year in?
I think from everything I've been told that next year's going to be that kind of year where they maybe flirt with the wild card. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs next year. They're not going to spend significant dollars this upcoming off season. This is about I do think that the rebuild for 2024 being that target year started this year because they're trying to reposition their books so that they could see of these young talents what they have. And then that way, when they head into that off season next year, they know where they need to allocate their dollars to. It's frustrating, I know, and I want to tell you something different, but I don't anticipate them spending a ton of money this upcoming offseason. I think it's all about another full season for Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft, and then obviously figuring out what to do with Stevenson and seeing another year Jonathan India.
I will say this, just, when I think about those names, it's kind of exciting because I really think prospect-wise, young player-wise, not even prospect anymore. I mean, India was Rookie of the Year. That doesn't always mean anything for the trajectory of your career, but certainly gives you a lot of hope. Tyler Stevenson was right there with them. I love those two. I love Lodolo. I think he's going to be fine if he can just pursue a little bit more. And I think you're right. Okay, fine. We move him over. The only thing I think is an alternative to that is possibly the nice part about when we had Tucker. I did not think Tucker. The only thing I disagreed with you on is that Tucker was a decent hitter.
Well, he was so streaky. He was so streaky. And to be when you say he cost us a lot, that's not necessarily all on him because, to be fair, the catcher position should not be one of those guys that you're relying on to carry you offensively. The Reds have been lucky over the years, like with Devin Mesoraco. When he was such a great hitter for that little stint, that was gravy. The reason Mesoraco was so exciting is because he was a great catcher, but he could hit the hell out of the ball. That's not common. That's why Stevenson, this isn't common, which is why, he can hit the ball. We need that more than we need a defensive catcher. We have a better chance at finding a defensive catcher than another Stevenson is all. So we'll see.
I agree. They should have kept Barnhart. You're right about that, too. He would have been cheap enough to keep. The only thing is, and I'll leave it at this. This will be my last statement.
You're good.
If we're really saying, and I totally agree with you, 2023 is probably it. That's fine. If that's what we're really committing to in 2024, if we don't have pieces, we're going to spend the money then. Okay, no problem. I'll agree with that. It's just a tough pill to swallow because I feel like we've been rebuilding for a decade, but for 20 years really at this point. But the one thing I'll say is maybe if they could just let him catch a lot less. Isn't he carrying the ball this year when he is healthy?
Yeah, and to be fair, remember he caught last year. He didn't get injured a lot. You bring up a good point. Thank you for bringing this up because I didn't even think of spinning it this way. Last year, he had some – it's a 162-game season. Everyone's going to get hurt at some point. But he platooned with Tucker. And he had less injuries, and now he is carrying the majority of the outings this year. When he's healthy, he's the primary catcher, and I think that's the problem. To where last year he was combined, he was platooned with Tucker, and that would limit his outings, but also limit his at bats too. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But
split him in there in the first base position on occasion. In days when you really want to get the most out of him, let him play a little first base and see if it's something that he takes to. First base isn't that hard, obviously. A lot of guys can switch there from other skilled positions. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how many catchers go from catching to first base. Is that pretty common or no?
I'm not going to sit here and BS you and act like I know that off the top of my head because I don't. But I do know that last year, I think he played. And look at Scott Campbell on YouTube coming through in the clutch.
I think you're right. He did, didn't he?
He played
He did
23.
play first base.
Yeah, Scott Campbell. Shout out to Scott on YouTube because in our conversation, Chuck, Scott just messaged into the show saying that Tyler played 23 games at first base last year. He had a 993 fielding percentage. Votto was helping him basically when he was on the DL. So thank you, Scott, for that. But yeah, like I think that's going to be the key depth at the catcher position. And by the way, I do think he is going to continue catching for the Reds. I think he's going to get one more stint as the catcher of the Reds. Maybe being a little dramatic as far as pulling the plug on it. Shaw, one of the other guys in the chat on Facebook, said that maybe he doesn't get hurt again moving forward. You're right, but next year I think you try it one more time. But I think if we see another significant injury behind the plate, I think that's when they really need to say, okay, enough's enough. We need to make sure we have some.
You remember Tyler Eifert?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Tyler Eifert?
Yep.
The guy had all the talent in the world. It kind of reminds me of that. This year for him, Tyler Stevenson is that guy where the guy's got all this talent, but every time it's like the worst luck in the world. And he's a paper tiger. I don't know if that's Stevenson yet, but you're right. This year certainly doesn't spell well. And I would hate to see them waste this guy's career constantly on the DL. I would rather see him at first base and playing than playing catcher once a month or every other month or whatever. That's I agree with you, Justin. It's good to talk to you, buddy. It's been a while. I hope all's well with the married life. That can be challenging, and we'll be in touch again soon, brother.
All right. Take care, Chuck. Appreciate it, man. Thanks. Hey, it may be challenging for my wife. It ain't challenging for me. I'm lucky as hell. She's the unlucky one. But, hey, she said yes. She had a chance to run, and she didn't. But the challenge is for her more than me. I have it made. But there you go. But, Chuck, thank you, man. Appreciate the call. Good stuff. But Shaw, yes, I know we go back and forth. You brought up a good point. Maybe he doesn't get hurt again moving forward. I'm being dramatic maybe in saying that he should never play the catcher position again. But I think that next year, because next season, and he's possibly done for this year. It's been announced that he's done for the year. But for next year, this is a team that they'll be more competitive than they are this year. I don't anticipate them being a playoff team next year. But next year is going to be about that. Okay, that's the third year for Jonathan India. Third year for Tyler Stevenson. Second year for Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. What strides are they making? Are we, you have Dela Cruz and big-time prospects making their way through the ranks right now. Next year is going to be that telling year of, okay, the Reds front office, the second that we get to the offseason of next year, that's when I think we're really going to see the Reds front office invest. I do believe, as bad and poor as the front office has been, that this past the offseason decisions that they made, it was their way of throwing in the flag and saying, hey, we submit, we screwed up. Okay. I was excited when they I'm going to kill the music here because I want to set this up real quick. I was excited when they brought in Moustakas. I was excited when they brought in Castellanos. I was excited when they brought in Trevor Bauer and Sonny Gray. But if you look back and Shogo Akiyama, when you look back, you know why they brought those guys in, folks? They brought those guys in. That didn't signify that the Reds front office was ready to turn the corner and start investing to win. That signified that they screwed up the rebuild. And what I mean by that is it's not as if they brought those guys in to complement the young talent that they had. And theoretically, technically they did. Obviously, you had Winker and you had Suarez and Castillo and guys like that. But they failed so bad on that last rebuild. It was pretty bad. I mean, you got to think every top player that they traded away between the Todd Fraziers and the Brandon Phillips and the Jay Bruces and the Chapmans and the Iglesias, every top player, they didn't get one significant piece back. Eugenio Suarez came. I already forgot the name of the pitcher. My apologies. He made the all-star team for the Reds for playing one half of good baseball, and they ended up getting Eugenio Suarez for him. And now I'm drawing a blank, so my apologies. But Dan Straley, we got Luis Castillo for Dan Straley, who was solid for the Reds for about his season. And the front office flipped him and turned him into Luis Castillo. That's fantastic. All right. They took an average pitcher, starting pitcher for the Reds, and turned him into Eugenio Suarez, who had 2.5 really, really good seasons for the Reds, of course. But they got nothing, folks. They got nothing for Cueto. They got nothing for Leak. There was nothing of significance. So when they brought in Castellanos and when they brought in, Moustakas and Gray and all that, they didn't bring them in because, we're ready to win. They brought them in because they screwed up the rebuild, and they had to at least bring some kind of players in to show that, hey, it's all coming together. Now, technically, they at least got a playoff appearance out of it, but they didn't get anything out. They didn't get their return on investment, if you will, as far as the players they gave up to start the rebuild. You gave up Johnny Cueto, who had the Reds had any kind of offense, would have won a Cy Young for the Reds, and he would have been the first Red to win a Cy Young for the franchise, and not Trevor Bauer years later. That's the frustrating part. So this is different. For the rest of this season and next season, it's about, okay, Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, Graham Ashcraft. All right, you're going to get TJ Antone back next year. All right, you have great pieces coming up through the system, guys that you got in the trades for Tucker, or for obviously Jesse Winker and Suarez and those guys from the Mariners. You have on the offensive side, of course, you have your Jonathan Indias of the world. Obviously, you have, your Tyler Stevensons, and you have, De La Cruz. You have some really cool pieces coming up through the system. The rest of this season and all of next year is going to be about, okay, we know we have this. And by the way, we're seeing it now. Did you guys watch Nick Lodolo last night? My goodness. I'm telling you, if you're boycotting this team because you're still mad at the ownership, I get it. But last night was cool as hell. I'm watching Nick Lodolo last night, and I'm looking around Great American Ballpark, and I'm envisioning a night game in October with the big lefty on the mound and the place just going crazy. Like, we are good 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and I know we're not patient. We're going to look back at this season and think of the misery that we're going through right now, and we're going to say, man, I'm not saying we want to go through it again, but it was all worth it. I'm going to give the front office one more benefit of the doubt. We're seeing, we can't say they're failing because the pieces that they have received back this go round, they're drafting well, they're developing well. That's all you can ask for at this point. They've screwed up, but complaining about it's not going to change anything. So you might as well start looking at where we're at right now. And where we're at right now, the Reds are in a position to break our hearts again, but at least they're in a position to break our hearts again because there's something that is interesting. It's better than not having any direction whatsoever, like the Pirates and some of these other teams who have been rebuilding for what seems to be 10 years. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Blue Angels are back. And for the first time ever at the Centerpoint Energy Dayton Air Show presented by Kroger, they'll be performing with their new FA-18 Super Hornets July 30 and 31st at Dayton International Airport. This year's show features military and civilian demonstrations, historic aircraft, food and fun, along with hands-on interactive events. Tickets are available while supplies last at DaytonAirShow.com. Discount general admission tickets at area Kroger stores.
Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken is excited to announce their new delicious spicy bourbon chicken sandwich is here. It's the best of both worlds. Their spicy bourbon dippers that you love brought into a sandwich you'll crave. It's made with their famous spicy chicken sandwich, smothered in their special bourbon barbecue sauce, dripping with flavor on a brioche bun. Enjoy it in a combo with your favorite side and a drink, priced just right at only $6.99 and only available at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken Miami Valley locations. Lee's, famous for spicy bourbon chicken.
Save big on your next project and get 11% off everything at Menards. Protect and maintain your wood surfaces with Minwax stains and finishes. They offer a variety of easy-to-use products that provide a beautiful finish lasting for years to come. Get 11% off all Minwax stains and finishes now at Menards. Good through July 31st. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
With our newest unlimited plan, everyone's welcome. Introducing Welcome Unlimited from Verizon for just $30 a line per month for 4 lines with autopay plus taxes and fees. Our best priced unlimited plan ever.
Did he say $30?
Yep, $30 a line for the whole family. The network you want, the price you love. Switch to Verizon today. Paper-free billing required. Unlimited 5G nationwide 4G LTE. In times of congestion, your data may be temporarily slower than other traffic. All smartphone lines on the account must be on Welcome Unlimited and are eligible only for select promotions. Includes domestic talk, text, and data usage only. Data roaming at 2G speeds.
DQ presents Picture This. Picture yourself at DQ on Thursday, July 28th for Miracle Treat Day. You roll up to order a Blizzard with your friends and family like you have so many times before. But on this day, every flavor comes with a much-needed dose of hope. For every Blizzard you buy at participating locations, $1 or more will be donated to Children's Miracle Network hospitals for your local children's hospital, making Miracle Treat Day the most satisfying way to give hope to kids in your community. Thursday, July 28th at DQ.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is, fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy inherited properties, vacant homes, rentals, commercial properties, and apartment buildings. Give us a call today and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Dirty exterior? Don't scrub it. Wet it and forget it. Wet and Forget, the easy outdoor cleaner. Wet and Forget works overtime with Mother Nature to eliminate unsightly black and green stains on the exterior of your home with no scrubbing, power washing, or bleach. Use Wet and Forget on all your outdoor surfaces, including decks, siding, roofs, and patios. Wet and Forget is available as a concentrate or extreme reach hose end. Purchase Wet and Forget in-store or online at Lowe's, Menards, Ace, or Walmart.
This is a court-ordered notice. If you were subject to the data breaches of the United States Office of Personnel Management and you experienced an out-of-pocket loss after the breaches, you could be eligible for a payment from a class action settlement. To see if you're eligible, go to opmdatabreach.com or call 1-855-917-3567. That's opmdatabreach.com or call 1-855-917-3567.
Dayton Classics Baseball is having tryouts for next year's season at Wright State University for 13 through 18-year-old teams. The 13U and 15U premier teams will have non-parent coaches. Tryouts are now through July 26th. Dayton Classics player development has resulted in more than 300 players moving on to college baseball, 30 players to pro baseball, and 4 major leaguers, including current Oakland A's Sean Murphy. Check out DaytonClassics.com or at Dayton Classics on Twitter and Facebook.
Saving money feels pretty good. Allstate. Better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street is a proud sponsor of the Red Scare and the TBT on WING. Go Flyers. whether you're at home, at work, or in your car. Tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Jordan Seibert pushing tempo. Jordan Seibert going to go all the way up. Is fouled. It's in, and the bucket is good. It wasn't the prettiest shot, but 2 points is 2 points, and 2 points is all they needed. The Dayton Flyers Red Scare, they take the opening round matchup against City Team off of a Jordan Seibert bucket. Jordan Seibert, how about that? Clinches it for the Red Scare. The last time Jordan Seibert was here playing on this floor, Norm, it was the NCAA First Four win against Boise State when he hit the go-ahead game-winning shot with 34 seconds left. The clock was not a factor tonight, but he made it count, and Jordan Seibert wins game one for the Red Scare.
Yeah, Red Scare coming out of that last time out, got to stop and then gets the transition. And the two-man game with Scooch and Trevor Thompson's been working all game. And they really caught a break a few times, amazingly, down the stretch. Some mishandles by City Team.
Justin Kinner back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. That was the game-winning shot from Seibert on Sunday for the Dayton Flyers Red Scare, the TBT on WING, which you can catch it all right here tonight at 9 o'clock to tip off. Hopefully you can't listen to 1410 Wing AM because you're going to be at the arena cheering on some of your former favorite Flyers coming up later on tonight at the University of Dayton Arena. Again, Red Scare going to be in action. Talked about it on yesterday's show, but it's pretty exciting. Again, some of these guys, what was really unique, and this is something that, after talking with just different people at UD on Sunday, every one of the Flyers, all right, that is on this Red Scare roster, because, again, you have two former Ohio State Buckeyes on this Red Scare roster, and Joe Thomason, who played at Wright State. He's a Dayton native on top of that. But every Dayton Flyer that is on this Red Scare roster, every one of them, their final game at the University of Dayton Arena, they walked off the floor for the final time as winners. Like they won their final game on senior day. Josh Cunningham on senior day, the Flyers had beat LaSalle, and that was back in March of 2019. It was March 6th, 2019. It was senior day for Josh Cunningham. He won his final game at UD Arena, as a Flyer. All right. And then you look at Daryl Davis, that senior day win over George Washington. That was back in March of 2018. We all know the season with Trey Landers and Ryan Mikesell. Remember, game day was in town that day. They had that senior day win over George Washington. That win completed that perfect 18-0 A-10 record for the nationally third-ranked Flyers that year. And that was the last game before COVID canceled the A-10 tournament in Brooklyn and eventually the NCAA tournament as a whole. But they won. Ryan Mikesell, Trey Landers, the last time they played at UD Arena before this past Sunday's TBT debut, at the arena for the Red Scare, they won. V. Sanford, he won. All right, his Flyers won on senior day over Richmond back in 2014, which, wow, that didn't seem like that long ago. Not that long ago, but that was a long time. 2014, V. Sanford, seeing him still playing, coming back to the arena to play is pretty cool. Jordan Seibert, this is where it's cool. So you just heard the call from Jordan Seibert's Elam-ending, game-clinching win in round one against City Team this past Sunday in front of 4,000 Flyer fans at the arena. The last time he played at UD Arena was back in 2015. And remember, that wasn't a senior day win. That wasn't, an A-10 title clincher. No, it was the NCAA tournament. It was the first four. So the last time Seibert played at UD Arena was back in March of 2015. Seibert hit that go-ahead game-winning shot with about 34 seconds left to beat Boise to advance to the first round of the NCAA tournament. Scoochie Smith, senior day win for him back in 2017. They won the A-10 regular season championship when they clinched it over VCU. Every one of these guys got to walk off the floor at UD Arena as winners. And they risked that lasting memory of walking off the floor that final time with the win. They're risking that by coming back to play at UD Arena. But that's how much they want. I mean, yes, of course they want to win it all. That goes without saying. But you know what I mean? Like that, they're risking that. Their last memory of playing at UD Arena, they got to walk off the floor as victors. They are risking walking off the floor for potentially the final time. Who knows how many more years that this Red Scare team will stay together? I'm hoping a long time. Who knows how many more years that UD Arena, hoping a long time, will get to host, be a regional host or, a championship week host. So these guys are risking a lot. They're risking the memory of walking off the floor for the final time as a winner on that floor. They're risking that, but hopefully that risk is worth the reward, because they need to win 5 more to win that $1 million grand prize and to win the TBT championship. And game 2 is coming up here later on tonight at 9:00. So hoping you guys are going, hope you're going to watch the game. But if not, you'll have a chance to catch it right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. 9:00 is the tip off. But I appreciate everyone who has tuned in and been a part of that. Appreciate our sponsors, Timothy's Bar and Grill, Orion Sports Medicine, the Cordalis Law Office, the Big Hoopla, Least Famous Recipe Chicken, everyone who has jumped on board as a sponsor. We really appreciate that. Up to this point today, appreciate all the callers and the interaction, of course, throughout the afternoon. Talked a lot about the Cincinnati Bengals. NFL camp officially getting underway. Every team will be getting started here, I talked about now, when we talk about the offseason, we could officially close the book on the offseason. Right now, my concern for the Bengals, they've had about 3 straight consecutive fantastic off seasons, but this preseason's not off to the best start. We're going to talk about this in the next part of the show, but Joe Burrow's having surgery, having his appendix removed. Okay, that doesn't sound like a major surgery, and it's not, but you can't convince me that surgery's good. Like, there's no such thing as a good surgery. You could say, well, better now than later. But it's officially preseason now. This isn't something that he had done in the offseason. This is something that's being done in the preseason, when this is the time where everyone's coming together to prepare for running it back, trying to get back to the Super Bowl. Kappa, one of the big additions that they made to the offensive line, he's out. There's really yesterday at the Bengals media luncheon, there was really no timetable. They said soon. But what does soon mean? It was very vague. That's a concern. Lyle Collins had, he strained his back. He has a back injury that they have said isn't significant, but who knows if this could be a lingering back injury that can have an impact on this team throughout the season. Look, the Bengals were fortunate to get to the Super Bowl, and I promise you this is not taking a shot at your team, so relax. They were fortunate to have a quarterback get sacked 70 times and still be within 1 play of winning a Super Bowl. The reason that is such a big storyline is because that's not supposed to happen. And it's not supposed to happen. And just because it happened last year doesn't mean that the odds will be in the Bengals' favor of Joe Burrow being sacked 50-plus times again in the regular season and then being in the same position that they were last year. Now, again, they added those offensive linemen, but if Kappa's going to be out and miss some time, and if Collins is going to have a lingering back issue all season, and Burrow's already going to miss some, who knows how much time with, as he recovers from this appendix surgery, who knows? Just, this isn't the best start to the preseason is all I'm trying to say. And let's not forget about the fact that Jesse Bates, his ongoing contract negotiations, how that's also stumbling and getting in the way a little bit. So interesting nonetheless, but it's something just to keep an eye on. It's definitely, I would much rather have the question marks that surround the Bengals preseason than I do as a Browns fan right now. By the way, I just saw the Bengals jerseys that they released earlier today, the white jerseys. I hate that they have cool jerseys, by the way. I'm not a Bengals fan. I will never buy a Bengals jersey. But if I was to buy a Bengals jersey, these white jerseys, the whiteout jerseys are pretty cool. Yeah. I wish I was a Bengals fan so I could wear that jersey, but I'm also glad I'm not a Bengals fan all at the same time. But is the season? It's almost here. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to finally get back to irritating OU Bengals fans and you guys hating me once again, or maybe you still do. Who knows? But I'm glad the season's here. We're finally talking about actual football storylines going on. Yesterday, we were able to catch up with former Bengals great Willie Anderson. He's one of 2 inducted into the upcoming season's 2022 Ring of Honor. So we got to talk about what that meant to him and how much that means to his legacy, and hopefully it's not the final big award that he gets, highlighting his playing days, because sounds like he could be in the near future the next Bengal to be inducted into the NFL, into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that'll be pretty exciting as well. One thing him and I talked about yesterday was the perception of the franchise. I said I find it very ironic that when you think of the perception of the franchise right now, the perception is that they're a disaster of a franchise when it comes to the offensive line. But when you look at the historic perception of the franchise, only one Hall of Famer happens to be an offensive lineman, and most likely their second Hall of Famer is going to be Willie Anderson, another offensive lineman. So I just find it ironic that when Willie Anderson is finally inducted into the Hall of Fame, this organization is only going to have 2 inductees into the Hall of Fame. They're both offensive linemen for the organization that just never can seem to get the offensive line right. I just find irony in that. That's all. But hopefully with Kappa and with Collins, and if they can get through these injuries and kind of it all come together this upcoming season, we'll forget about all the offensive line talk, if you will. But I'm sure I'll find something else to complain about when it comes to the Bengals, right? All right, good stuff. We're stepping away for a few moments. You're listening to the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. No Kev Nash this week. He will be back next week. Coming up later on tonight, you'll get to hear a little bit of Reds baseball before it is handed off to Norm Greavy and myself at the University of Dayton Arena for the TBT. Reds Marlins Game 2, 6:40 coverage begins. 7:10 will be the first, or 6:10 is when coverage begins. 6:40 will be the first pitch. Tonight, Hunter Green will take the mound. Nick Lodolo was fantastic last night for the Reds. I mean, he really was. Like he's starting to kind of get in a groove and a rhythm a little bit, and it's cool seeing what Graham Ashcraft can do, then handing it right off to Nick Lodolo, right into Hunter Green. And then, of course, tomorrow night will be Luis Castillo. And tomorrow, Luis Castillo, folks, that's his final game. That will be his final game as a Cincinnati Red. It's going to be bittersweet nonetheless, but it'll be pretty exciting to get bid farewell to Luis Castillo tomorrow. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at 1410 Kinner, Kinner. I'm going to be giving out some tickets to tomorrow night's game against the Marlins so that we can send some of you guys to go watch obviously Luis Castillo in his final start for the Reds. So there you go. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Here comes Buddy Guy.
Got the blue. Put my head down to my shoes.
And John Hyatt and the Gunners, featuring Sonny Landreth.
Just a slow turning.
This Saturday night at Taft Theater, and this Sunday night at Rose Music Center at the Heights. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Don't miss Buddy Guy and John Hyatt and the Gunners, featuring Sonny Landreth.
The Big Hoopla is proud to welcome the TBT, the basketball tournament, back to the Gem City. Join the Big Hoopla and all the fun and excitement as we cheer on Dayton's alumni team, the Red Scare. The stakes are high as TBT is a $1 million winner-take-all event. We'll see you at UD Arena for the Dayton Regionals and the TBT Championship July 24th through August 2nd. For tickets and sponsorship information, visit DaytonHoopla.com. That's DaytonHoopla.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call Select.